morning. I'm here with Commissioner Ellis and Karen Knapp, who is part of the anti-crime organization Moms Demand Action. I know that many parents are scared by the stories they hear on the news about youth gun violence, especially the recent ones, the shooting in Nashville, and these tragic stories that seem to come almost every day. What I want to make sure people know is that today's epidemic of youth gun violence is not just based on stories. It's also backed up by the data here in Harris County. We're feeling the effects of rising youth gun violence every day in our community. Today we're releasing data from the Harris County Analyst's Office showing that what we've suspected all along. Every year, more and more children in Harris County are dying because of firearms and the ready availability of firearms. On June of 2022, Commissioner's Court directed the Commissioner's Court Analyst's Office to work with justice-related departments and draft a report with data, causes, and evidence-based policy solutions related to gun violence and youth gun violence from 2015 to the present. The data encompasses death and mortality data from the Centers for Disease Control, the Juvenile Probation Department, and hospital data with help from Harris County Public Health. The data is now being released, and what it shows us is that youth gun violence is worse today in Harris County than it was 5 years ago. Between 2016 and 2021, firearm-related deaths increased among youth in Harris County by 37%. From 2019 to 2021, the firearm death among youth increased nationwide as well. In 2021, 50 children in Harris County died because of gun violence. That's the size of 2 elementary school classrooms. As people hit hardest by this the people hit hardest by this pandemic of gun violence truly is all of us, our entire community, and our children. What worse than that? In Harris County, we've done what we can to lower youth gun violence. So far, my colleagues on Commissioner's Court and I have invested $6 million in the Community Violence Interruption Program. That program sends trained mediators directly into the community to help people reconcile personal conflicts that might turn into gun violence. These are dangerous situations. These are folks working with youth who are involved in gangs, who've been involved in this kind of violence in the past. But we're working to stop gun violence proactively before it occurs. In its first year of operations, this program has already connected with hundreds of youth. That means staff going there to visit 5, 10 times with the same youth. This is about relationship building. It's not easy work. It's about building those relationships with the children, with the youth, and making sure that they don't end up involved in gun violence, involved in crime. Over the past year that the program has been in operation, the team has specifically stopped 16 incidents of violence. Those are 16 kids that could have been victims of gun violence who have not fallen prey to that epidemic. So I'm very proud that we're hiring team members and staff in our public health department that are able to build those strong relationships with our kids and keep these tragedies from taking place. We've moved also to focus on kids in the community that might recidivate, that have already been involved in something like this and are already involved with our criminal justice system. We've worked on specific therapies, for example, therapies that are given evidence to lower recidivism. We are involved in that in our juvenile justice departments. We've taken dangerous guns off the street through buyback events. Commissioner Ellis has led the charge on that. We've worked on a $4 million Harris County Youth Justice Reinvestment Fund That reinvestment fund is operating across communities all throughout Harris County to help kids who are at risk get involved in after-school activities, get involved in sports, get involved with mentors. Again, these are evidence-based initiatives that stop this kind of violence from happening. And we are being successful to some extent. Firearm-related youth offenses in Harris County increased overall because of this availability of guns, 37.3% between 2016 and 2021. But non-firearm related offenses decreased drastically, 52.2% for the same period. And so what this shows you is we're doing everything we can, but we can't control the lax laws and lack of action at the state level. The truth is, we can't talk about rising youth gun violence without talking about the role that guns play in fueling it. It's not just political posturing. The data itself is showing us that Texas gun laws are contributing to more children dying in our state. Studies have shown that lenient gun regulations are associated with higher occurrence of youth carrying guns and weapons. But even if you look at just the logic, we're letting people who shouldn't have guns. There's more open carry. There's more permitless carry. There's no vetting. The only way in which you have a background check is if you go to a federally licensed firearm dealer. But people could just go to a gun show. They can very easily purchase firearms. Gun sales have gone up over the past few years. So to those who say that more guns makes us more safe, where's the proof of that? As gun sales have gone up, so have gun deaths, especially amongst our youth. The gun lobby has the Texas legislature in an iron grip. Despite a coalition of both Republicans and Democrats among the community supporting background checks, opposing permitless carry, supporting other common sense gun safety measures, state leaders refuse to act. Instead, they continue to make permitless carry easier, having an unlawful gun easier. They refuse to close the gun show loophole. As we're interviewing kids in our juvenile probation department, kids who have become involved in this, what we're hearing is perhaps their parents try to keep weapons from them, but they're just so readily available in the community. They can't escape them. These kids don't want to be involved, but they simply can't escape them. They feel that they're at a disadvantage if they're not the ones who have the guns. So what can we do? We're not going to throw our hands up and say there's nothing we can do. That's why I listed all of these different initiatives we've taken and the reduction in non-firearm related crime among the youth, which we've achieved. We're doing everything we can, but we really need our state legislature to step up and lead on this issue. We need them to pass legislation that's going to make it harder for youth to get their hands on firearms. We need them to pass Tracy King's law to raise the age to 21 for assault rifles. They're trying to raise the age to 26 for gender-affirming care, so they're saying the youth can't make decisions about their own body till they're 26, but they can carry an assault rifle when they're 18 or even younger. We can do so much. Commissioner Ellis can talk about the details of how this is possible in the legislature, but all of us who support common sense, basic regulations need to continue agitating for change. It's not just the stories from our community workers. It's not just the stories from our kids that now are part of our juvenile justice system whose lives have been ruined, but it's also the numbers that we're seeing in our hospitals, the numbers that we're seeing in our juvenile justice departments that now show it is beyond time to act and continue preventing tragedy in our communities and in our state. I'll pass it on to Commissioner Ellis, but first let me repeat my remarks briefly in Spanish. Sé que muchos padres sienten bastante miedo por las continuas noticias sobre muertes y lesiones en las escuelas, especialmente el tiroteo trágico en Nashville hace poco. Lastimosamente, La epidemia de violencia armada juvenil en nuestra área de nuestro país no solamente se trata de estas historias que se ven en las noticias, sino también lo vemos en los datos en el condado Harris. Estamos sintiendo los efectos de un aumento de la violencia armada juvenil. Hoy estamos publicando datos de la oficina del analista del condado Harris que demuestran lo que hemos sospechado desde hace bastante tiempo. Cada año más y más niños en el condado Harris están muriendo por las armas de fuego que se permiten en este estado. En junio del año pasado, nuestra Corte de Comisionados le pidió a la oficina del analista del condado que trabajara en un reporte acerca de estos datos. Ya estamos presentando la información, vienen del gobierno federal, nuestro Departamento de Justicia Juvenil y también información hospitalaria que nuestro Departamento de Salud Pública nos ha ayudado a reunir. Los datos nos demuestran que la violencia armada ha empeorado en los últimos 5 años entre los jóvenes. Del 2016 al 2021, las muertes relacionadas con armas de fuego incrementaron un 37% entre los jóvenes. Del 2019 al 2021, la tasa de muertes a nivel nacional también ha subido. En el 2021, 50 niños murieron en el condado Harris dado la violencia armada. Eso es igual a 2 clases de primaria llenas de niños. 91% de estas muertes son niños latinos o afroamericanos. En el condado Harris hemos hecho todo lo que podemos para reducir la violencia armada juvenil. Invertimos $6 millones en un programa de intervención de violencia comunitaria. Hemos trabajado con niños que están involucrados en pandillas, con niños que ya han estado en estos temas de tiroteos y los visitamos 5 o 10 veces a cada niño con personas entrenadas, personas de la comunidad. En el año que ha estado trabajando esta iniciativa ya hemos prevenido 16 incidentes de violencia, específicamente 16 niños que no fueron lastimados por armas. Dado este programa, ya tenemos contacto con cientos de muchachos, de jóvenes. También hemos invertido $4 millones en un programa en varias áreas de la comunidad para ofrecer a los muchachos más actividades después de la escuela, actividades educativas, deportivas, para que estos chicos no se vean involucrados en temas de violencia. Dentro del sistema de justicia penal estamos trabajando en estrategias y hemos implementado estrategias que científicamente han demostrado reducir las tasas de reincidencia entre los chicos que están en el sistema de justicia penal por temas de violencia armada. Está funcionando lo que estamos haciendo. Entre el 2016 y el 2021, las ofensas entre los jóvenes que no tienen que ver con las armas se han reducido un 52.2%. Ahora, cuando vemos las armas, ofensas relacionadas a armas han subido un 37.3%. Entonces, lo que se queda fuera de nuestras manos es específicamente la disponibilidad de estas armas de fuego. La verdad es que no podemos hablar acerca del aumento de la violencia armada juvenil sin hablar también del papel que juegan las armas en alimentar esta violencia. La postura política de ciertas personas es que las armas ofrecen más seguridad. No es eso verdad. La cantidad de armas en nuestras comunidades ha incrementado dramáticamente desde la pandemia y con eso también ha subido la cantidad de tiroteos y de muertes entre nuestros niños en toda la comunidad. Entonces, aquellos que dicen que más armas llevan a más seguridad, es que ni las historias ni los datos apoyan esa conclusión. Lo que los datos demuestran es que las leyes en Texas, o la falta de leyes, están contribuyendo a más niños muriendo en nuestro estado. Hay estudios académicos que demuestran esto mismo, pero cuando hablamos inclusive con los muchachos en nuestras cárceles juveniles, nos dicen eso, nos dicen, miren, nuestros padres no quieren que tengamos armas, a mí no me gustaría tener un arma, pero todos los muchachos en la comunidad tienen armas. Entonces siento una obligación de tener una para poderme defender. Y es por eso que han dado a parar en estas cárceles juveniles con la vida ya prácticamente en problemas y en tan joven edad. Y también es obvio, este estado está permitiendo que personas que no deben tener armas porten armas. Hay lo que se llama el permitless carry, el transporte sin permiso, el transporte abierto, eso lo ha permitido la legislatura estatal. No se hace ningún tipo de estudio de background check. Uno puede comprar un arma en cualquier sitio sin tener que evaluar antecedentes. El lobby de armas tiene la legislatura de Texas completamente controlado. Pero entre la comunidad hay una amplia coalición entre republicanos y demócratas, todos de acuerdo que debemos verificar antecedentes o poner el porte sin permiso. Hay muchos pasos que podemos tomar bastante obvios, bastante claros, bipartidistas, y es posible pasar eso en esta legislatura. El comisionado Ellis hablará de eso. Entonces, no nos estamos rindiendo, pero sí debemos todos nosotros seguir pidiendo, basado en estos datos y basado en las tragedias, basado en lo que nos dicen nuestros trabajadores y nuestros niños, que estos líderes estatales deben hacer su trabajo y liderar en el tema de la violencia armada. We'll hear from Commissioner Ellis, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you, Judge. We had a long and productive day yesterday. I think you called me about 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe it was to reflect on the day, but instead, you were going to a very important issue. I'm so glad that you called and decided to do this press conference. I appreciate the work that the analyst's office did on this report, but it meant a lot in terms of leadership to highlight this issue. Karen and Moms Demand Action, thank you so much for the work that you do for being here. Look, we cannot sit by idly and continue to lose children to preventable deaths. We have to act, and we have to do it while the state legislature is still in session. At the halfway point, all of the bills that Judge Hidalgo laid out are there. Also, there are many bills with a broad enough caption. If there's some measures that our state leadership wants to pass, they can pass them. Or if they opted to even go in and suspend the rules, I was there 26 years, they can do that. Whatever they consider reasonable, bipartisan reforms, even if they won't go as far as Karen, the judge, or I want to go, they ought to do something. And so far, they have not done that. Harris County, on a local level, we're mobilizing our resources with absolute urgency to put a full court press on everything we can do within our power to reduce gun violence in our communities. As the judge said, we have no control over substantive gun control measures on the city level or on the state level, on the county level. We've been preempted at the city and the county. But we're doing as much as we can to try and take guns off the street. We've held 3 gun buyback programs with the city. As a result of that, we've collected 2,800 guns. These are weapons that are taken off the streets and cannot be used to harm a child or anyone else ever. At least those guns cannot be used. Gun buybacks are just one part, only one part of a broader effort on the county's part and the city's part to try and reduce gun violence. As she said, we're rolling up our sleeves. We're using smart, meaningful programs that have been tried in other places around the country, and to the extent we can pioneer new programs, we'll do that. Our Community Violence Interruption Program works with trained research specialists to interrupt cycles of gun violence in high-risk communities. I was in Chicago over the weekend. I met with the consultant, Dr. Chico, who's helping us here in Harris County. University of Chicago, very conservative, respectable Ivy League institution. They even have him teaching a class there, and they're funding a school there. They're pioneering many things that we're going to try here in Harris County. So far, that team has prevented, I think you said, Judge, 16 instances of violence and saved potentially millions in taxpayers' dollars. Also, our holistic assistance response team sends trained first responders to answer 911 calls about mental health issues. During the pandemic, mental health challenges have just gone off the chart. I can't help but think that that too adds to the significant number of gun incidents involving young people. We're thrilled with the success of that program, and we just voted to double the scope. My colleagues are at least indicating that we're going to significantly increase the money we put into the other violence interruption program as well. Harris County is leading an all-out effort, an offensive to combat gun violence in all our communities. And the startling numbers that we're seeing so far confirm that. I want to stress that we have also continued to invest in traditional law enforcement initiative, boots on the ground. But I do want to stress, if it was just a matter of continuing to do what we have done in the past, I think by now somebody would have solved the gun problem. We have to do more than that. So this is a call to action. We appreciate the press. If you dig into that report, ask the hard questions, but don't just ask them of us, because we're not in the legislature. And encourage our state leaders to do as much as they can on following best practices that have not only been used around the country, but around the globe. Here's the best statistic I can give you. Clearly, there are few instances of gun violence on the globe in countries where you don't have as easy access to guns as you have in America. It's an embarrassment to think we have more guns in this country than we have people. Thank you.
We'll take any questions. Thank you guys so much.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.